Hi, and in this last video about the levels of business, we are going to talk about the fifth stage of business, which is the prime stage of business. Now, characteristic of the prime stage of business is that things are even paced and stable. The funny thing about this characteristic is sometimes as an entrepreneur, especially an entrepreneur who's taken things from the startup phase, which can be very stressful and hectic and lots of crises and hair on fire type situations, it can be hard to jump to this fifth level of prime and recognize that the business is stable and running on its own. Revenue at this stage can be high, over $250,000. You also can have revenue of over $250,000 and sometimes be stuck at level 3 or 4 as well. Really recognizing that the systems and the operations are in place is what makes level 5 different from the previous levels of business. There are normally a lot of employees or contractors at this stage, usually 5 or more employees or freelancers who are helping you run your business. And the main struggle at this stage of business is return on investment. So basically what I mean by that is hiring someone or investing in a resource and making sure that you are recouping not just that amount of money invested, but additional funds that is going to mean that you are profitable as a company. Now, what level 5 looks like is there is a monetization of content, meaning you can probably draw a direct line between the content that provides value and connects with your customer and educates them to the products and services that you are providing. The other thing that level 5 has, the other characteristic, is that marketing is automated. And this can be done through these email management systems like Ontraport or Infusionsoft that I've talked about in previous videos. Now, problems that happen at the fifth level of business are that the founder doesn't see the prime stage. And that's kind of what I meant earlier whenever I said we're so used to our hair being on fire as entrepreneurs working in the startup space that it's sometimes hard to recognize that things are running stably, and it's hard for us to just let those things run stably and efficiently, guilt-free. But that's the cool thing to experience about the fifth level of business if you can get there. Now, there's a desire at the same time, if you've built a team, sometimes what you'll see in the team is a desire to maintain the status quo. So if you're a creative entrepreneur, you're probably always going to have lots of ideas and things that you want to change about the business, but employees and contractors tend to start to rely on you for the stability in their own lives, and so they'll sort of insulate the business and they'll want to keep you from implementing those new ideas and innovations and strategies. So that's back to making sure your team communication and your culture has been strong and consistent all along as you've been building. Another problem that you'll start to see at the fifth level and the prime level of business is a decrease in entrepreneurial activity. Back to trying to preserve the status quo. Sometimes entrepreneurs are less likely to chase those bright and shiny ideas and chase that innovation. And so reminding yourself to remain innovative and continuing to pursue being better, not necessarily just being bigger. That's an important part of developing that or keeping that entrepreneurial fire alive in a level 5 business. And another problem that a level 5 business experiences is just a lack of urgency. Your hair is not on fire, so it's really easy to kind of kick back and relax and coast along. And that can be kind of dangerous because you kind of start to drift, and you'll drift away from your clarity, you'll drift away from your purpose, you'll drift away from those powers and that value that you were once very committed to communicating to your audience. So keeping a little bit of a sense of urgency, or at least making sure you have your systems in place so that you don't start to drift, is very important. Okay, let's talk about things that you can do in the fifth level of business. On your foundation, just make sure that your team is embracing and communicating that culture and those values and those powers that you put in place in the very beginning stages of your business. Just make sure that they never drift too far away from that, because that's your core. and coming back to that consistently is really going to communicate and connect with your audience and add value. Your framework should be good and in place, well established. Sometimes this can be a challenge for creatives who do like to change things up a little bit. It might be kind of enticing to go pursue a different framework, but you're probably good at level 5. It might be time for you to maybe start another business at this point if things are running that smoothly. But don't try to change frameworks at this point. That would definitely put a crack in the foundation of your business structure. In terms of your customer system, make sure that you're willing to adapt. Customer audiences can evolve over time as you have evolved as a brand, and making sure that you are staying in touch with them and their needs is very important. On your website, remember that you're going to have to keep it updated. I would say prepare for a website investment or overhaul at least once every 2 to 3 years, if not more often than that. If you're working with a great developer, that might be something that you just are organically implementing over time. But if you're not, I would say be prepared to have some kind of refresh or upgrade just to make sure that you're staying on top of technology and improvements, because it is changing rapidly, as we all know. In terms of your email campaigns, you can start planning campaigns well in advance. You can work with email marketing professionals to do this, and you can also continue to automate your marketing through your email system. In terms of your content, a strategy that you might want to be implementing at this point in time is guest posting. You can start that in stage 4 as well, but starting to build a team of people to contribute content to your blog can really help spread the word about your business and your company, and get new audience members to see where you are and teach them about your product or service or offering. In terms of social media, you might want to hire this out. There are lots of social media firms popping up all over the place, and they'll manage your Twitter, your Instagram, and different social media channels for you. In terms of your funnel, it's important to analyze your sales funnel and make sure that all of the pieces are working and converting. So just keeping an eye on that, double checking that. And as a creative, this is fun as well, because you can start to kind of try new offerings. If you have a funnel that's well built out, you might want to go back and add a new offering at level 2 or level 3. But you can start to kind of play around with it if you have your revenue established. Just always remember to track your return on investment and make sure that anything that you invest in, that you are making sure that you have a plan with some goals for recouping that investment, and then also making sure that that project is profitable. In terms of the administrative systems, you're going to want to do some annual reviews. This might be with employees, or you could even do some type of review with any contractors that you have on your team. You're going to want to make sure that you continue to do your monthly accounting check-in, and that you use a yearly budget to keep you on track and keep your eye on expenses. And in terms of branding, the most important thing that you can do at this point is just make sure that you're staying consistent with both your verbal and your visual messaging. Make sure that you're using consistent key messaging and that you're using the same fonts, colors, logos, things like that throughout all aspects of your business. Now, the final question we get about level 5 is, how long can you stay at level 5? And the good news is, as long as you keep your systems running smoothly and you stay in touch with your audience and you continue to provide value with them, you're going to be able to stay at level 5 in business for as long as you can imagine. Now, something I would always recommend to think about is consider selling. If you're running a profitable business and you can get a good price for your company, consider selling that. And you can always access financial professionals and legal professionals to help you do that. Just remember that at this point, it's all about the systems and practicing them consistently and making sure you have a team in place to help you do that if you find yourself having trouble doing that on your own. So thank you so much for joining me for this walk through the 5 different levels of business. And I hope you've learned a lot and are inspired to go take action on that right now.